Hi, folks. This is a video about David Rockefeller and him appearing on the cover of this 1967 Newsweek magazine. Um, this is a little bit of a difficult video to make because I'm not quite sure what to make of this, and so logically it's kind of a little bit hard to figure out a way to present this to you. But so bear with me and just kind of try to hang with me, and I'll just throw all this out there, and I'll let you make up your own conclusions. And I'm not really quite sure what to make of it, but I think it's noteworthy and it's interesting, and I'm just going to throw this out there. All right, here we go. Um, this article from 1967, A New Era in Banking, was about David Rockefeller and the construction of the World Trade Center. And we can see from Wikipedia that construction actually began in 68 on one tower, 69 on the other. And according to Wikipedia, the whole thing was spearheaded by David Rockefeller. All right, so that's what it's about. Now, um, think back to my previous videos about Danny Lewin, the guy with all the funky stuff going on his watch. Here's a zoom in on that picture. The all the 11s on his watch, and it's a Swatch hijacker watch. Even his name kind of has an 11 in it, like Lewin and Levin are essentially interchangeable. So he's Danny Levin. This is an awful lot of 11, a lot. Yeah, that's hard to say. An awful lot of 11s with this guy and his watch. And this guy was a 9/11 passenger, supposedly the first guy to die on 9/11. He was on Flight 11 and so on. So anyway, just weird stuff about his watch. Well, what's weird about David Rockefeller and his watch is this. If you take that watch and you zoom in, you can see that the hands are on the one hand is on the 9, one hand is on the 11. Now, this photo that you've got down here in the center of the screen, this has been enhanced and somebody's kind of drawn over it. But as far as I can tell, this is not a photoshopped thing. There are too many copies of this magazine out there, so that this is not photoshopped. Here it is, untouched up. You can see it's kind of faintly, but you can see it well enough that it looks like it would looks. You would think the time is 2:25, but it's not, because you're looking at it upside down. From the way that he would look at it, the time would be 8:55. Just flip it upside down, and there you go. So this is kind of an enhanced version of what it would look like. Now remember too, this is just an observation. Remember that this watch is upside down. And remember from my videos previously about reversals and inversions, a lot of times when you're seeing um, uh, 9/11 type stuff or occultic type stuff being put out into the public view, there's going to be an inversion or a reversal to it in some way, or maybe a mirror image version of it that's being put out there. And that's the case with this. You have a 9 and an 11, and it's upside down. So that to me is very interesting. Also, you have the idea that Jesus was born on 9/11. Go back and watch my previous video on that if you have not seen it, and you might think that that is an incredibly bizarre idea, and you would be right. Normally, things like that are just stuff that you shouldn't pay any kind of attention to. But in this case, I think that there actually is enough good evidence that Jesus was born on 9/11 that I think that we have to take that idea seriously and kind of wade through that. People with PhDs are dealing with that and kind of wrestling with it and are coming to the conclusion that yeah, Jesus was probably born on 9/11. So that's actually something of a scholarly opinion at this point. It's not just conspiracy wacky talk. Um, and then you've got in this magazine, you've got this ad here with a Tarryton thing, and make something of that if you will. I don't know quite what to make of that, but anyway, back with David Rockefeller and his watch and stuff on this magazine cover. Um, Another weird thing that I think about that I think that exists about this Newsweek article is this, and that's the date of the death of Jesus, the date for the crucifixion. Now, according to Isaac Newton, the guy of Newtonian physics, the guy that invented calculus hundreds of years ago, the famous scientist Isaac Newton. One of the best dates for if you're trying to figure out when was Jesus actually crucified. One of his top candidates for a date for that event is April 3rd, 33 AD. Modern scholars looking into it a little more generally tend to agree with him, and they tend to think that I think most scholars, if you put them into a corner and get them to tell you, okay, nail it down, give me one date, it would probably be April 3rd, 33 AD. That's just what you can tell from the Passover lunar cycles and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. What is the publication date on this Newsweek article? April 3rd. So you have here, just on the cover of this magazine, you've got a 9/11 reference via the watch to Jesus. You've got the publication date being the anniversary of the death of Jesus. The watch, of course, being the anniversary of the birth of Jesus, which also is the same date of the destruction of the World Trade Center, which is and the World Trade Center being built is what the magazine article is about. And the guy who's wearing this watch with a 9/11 on it is David Rockefeller. Okay, I mean, this is not just some random architect or something or some banker. This is David Rockefeller. And you've got 9/11 being connected to Jesus as the birth, and April 3rd being connected to Jesus as the date for the crucifixion. Now, I really don't know quite what this means, but I think is really, really interesting. And what I think you can get from this is the people who pulled off 9/11 had Jesus in their mind in some way, and it's not in a good way. So it's some sort of a Christ, antichrist way of thinking. Because remember, the people who pulled off 9/11, go back and look at my previous videos on Enochian magic and Aleister Crowley and all that kind of the flight numbers and stuff. The people who pulled off 9/11 were seriously into Enochian magic. And the whole point of Enochian magic is to bring about an incarnate Antichrist and to kickstart the events of the Book of Revelation. And so, you put this magazine cover with the stuff that's on it in that kind of a context, and I'm not coming up with a really clear picture of exactly what's going on here, but I think that there is something going on. There is some sort of a connection and relationship of some sort. And there have been a lot of people who mentioned and have done videos and stuff on this Newsweek cover, and they focus on the watch. I think that the April 3rd date is equally interesting, and I think that deserves a lot more attention, and I'm hoping that this video will spark somebody's interest. As with all my videos, I'm just a dot connector. I'm just taking a lot of different things from here and there and trying to connect the dots in enough of a fashion that you can sort of get an outline of what's going on. But I'm really hoping that somebody else comes along later and takes a lot of this stuff and starts doing some more research and filling in with some more detail. So especially with this, because I don't really quite know what's going on, but I think it's really weird. And I wanted to share this with you because I don't think anybody else is really putting it out there like this. So anyway, this is all just data as far as I can tell, and make of it what you will. And hope you enjoyed the video and that you'll come back for some more. Thanks. Bye-bye. There are a couple of afterthoughts that I neglected to mention earlier in the video, and I'm doing this kind of as a footnote. And here are my two afterthoughts. Number one, um, the stuff about April 3rd, the 9/11 being on a watch, that kind of stuff, numbers and dates and everything. You see this not only just with this magazine cover, but in some other places concerning 9/11, like the Twin Towers being 110 stories tall. The zero is, numerologically is nothing, so you end up with an 11, and so on. The building looked like an 11, and so on. So anyway, why all these numbers? And in this case, why do you see the birth date and the date of the death of Jesus appearing basically on this Newsweek magazine, kind of in a very subtle way? I think here's what's going on with that in a very general sense. And that is, the people that pulled this stuff off are occultists. Occultists believe that they can use numbers in their magic to increase the likelihood of the success of their ritual. They believe that numbers have intrinsic powers, not just abstract numerical values, but the number itself actually has power, and that they can harness and tap into that power if they use the numbers in the right way. And so, as a precursor or preliminary type of thing and a preparation for the event, they're going to be sticking in numbers that are they will be specific numbers chosen and inserted in specific ways into specific things according to the number itself and what they're trying to do, because they think they can tap into these numbers' powers. Now, in a case of something like the April 3rd date, I think that they also believe that, say, if you're going to, it's almost kind of like maybe thinking, maybe say voodoo or something. You want to have a voodoo doll or something. You incorporate certain aspects of that person that you're putting a voodoo curse on into the doll. And, that's the whole point, is to kind of tie the ritual to that person in some way. And I think that that's why you see an April 3rd date on this Newsweek cover, and that's why you see the whole 9/11 thing being pulled off on the anniversary of the birth date of Jesus Christ. So I think that that's the best way to look at it. And, anything more than that, and I'm really not sure, but I think I've said this in a previous video, but I think that that's basically how they look at numbers and numerology and the power associated with numbers, and I think that that's what's going on here. But I really can't get more specific than that. Number two, the second point I want to point out is, of course, Isaac Newton knew about the death of Jesus in 33 AD, April 3rd, a long time ago. But if Jesus really was born on 9/11, 3 BC, I think that that's something that we only know today thanks to computer modeling. And I don't know that they had computers back in 1967 that could tell them something like that. And if they didn't have computers back in 67 that could model something that sophisticated, or maybe it's not that sophisticated, I'm not sure. Maybe you can get it by just doing good old-fashioned math and working backwards with, astronomical data charts or something. I don't know. But how were they able to figure that out? If Jesus really was born on 9/11, 3 BC, and this whole ritual was done as some sort of a reversal of his birth, more or less, theologically speaking, how did they come up with that date? Did somebody give it to them? Did they figure it out? How did they figure it out? When did they know it? I don't have the answers to those questions. And if you think you do, please put a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to know what you have to say about it. Thank you. Bye-bye.